Hello, shout out to everyone, and welcome to the channel back. And in this channel, I provide Excel tutorials for free, not just Excel, other IT courses for free. So if this is your first time on the channel and this is what you want to do, this is what you want to learn, I advise you to subscribe to the channel and also like the videos. In case of further updates I'll be dropping as regards, you will get notified. On the screen today, I have a particular topic of concern which data analysts find very useful in the analysis of data, and we will be talking about charts. Charts is used for data visualization. So under the charts that we are looking at today, I'll be talking about only columns and bars. So in other videos which I'll be linking to this particular video, I'll talk about other tools in Excel you can use to do what, to visualize your data. But for today, or for this video, in this video, I'm just only going to talk about columns and bars. Okay, I'm sure you've heard about bar charts, column charts, and the rest, and you know the difference between the two. But if you still want to refresh your understanding about it, this is the right place you are. So what is a chart in Excel? I'm sure everybody, we all did charts when we were in primary school, got to secondary school. We also met charts as well in the university, and we are also meeting charts in Excel. So a chart is like a way of visually showing data. Is a way of visually representing data. You can represent it using shapes, using bars, using lines, or using circles. So in other words, if you don't want to see the numerical aspect of the data in your spreadsheet, you can visualize them into whichever chart that fits that particular data. So in Excel chart, instead of looking at plain numbers in tables, you can visualize it in the chart. Like what I have here on the screen, this is a column chart. This one is a pie chart. I'll teach you in depth what each of them represent and how you can use them. This is a pie chart. This is a bar chart. They all represent information. Okay. More details of this chart will be shown in other slides. So, like I said earlier, instead of you looking at just plain numbers, you are looking at a chart that represents those data, those numbers you have on your spreadsheet. So with charts, you can be able to see patterns, you can be able to understand information easily, most especially if it's a data set that contains lots and lots of data. With charts, you can be able to visualize them and have a glimpse of them and generate information from them very easily. Now, let's look at what charts are being used for. Charts are being used to make data very easy to understand. Let's consider a supermarket, for instance, that has to do with sales of items, sales of products, sales of other kind of accessories that they are involved in. And for every sale they make, it is being recorded in a spreadsheet so that at the end of the day, they could be able to see the amounts they have generated. Is it fine? So they can also generate another data from that particular sales data for that day, like seeing the total sales made for that day. Okay, so the point where I'm trying to go is I want to show you how charts can be used to understand patterns. Now, if you have the total sales for each day, you can actually organize them into a column chart. Do you understand? A column chart looks like this, as I said earlier, like this one here. This is a column chart. You can organize them into columns like this, where you have on the y-axis the total sales, and on the x-axis, this is the x-axis, the horizontal axis, the names of those products, like you can see on this chart here. Don't worry about if this chart is not clear enough. I will get to a slide that has a detailed view of this particular column chart. So what was I trying to say? I was saying, imagine the supermarket generates the total sales of what was sold for that day, and they decide to represent it in what columns. Like here could be they will write a particular date and indicate the total sales for that particular date. The next one, they go to another date, indicate the total sales. I'm just giving you an instance. So how can information be generated from such kind of chart? Merely looking at it, you can see that if this were to be the supermarket sale, you can see that on this particular day there was a high amount of sale. On this other day too, this day here I'm pointing, there was also a high amount of sale. So can you picture the fact that we've been able to generate information from that data set? So instead of us looking at what numbers, instead of us looking at what just total sales alone, we can actually put them in a chart and understand them better. So this could be a combination of all other days the supermarket was open and the total sales generated for that day. Merely looking at the short column, you will know that the sales for that particular short column was not much for that particular day. So this is how you can generate information. Then you can now go back to ask what really occurred on this particular day that led to high sales, what really occurred on this particular day that led to high sales. Then you can get information from what occurred on that particular day, and it makes more sense. All right. So chat helps us to do what? To understand patterns better and understand our data sets better. Let me proceed back to the other slide. Now, the next use of charts, it helps us to find trends in data. What do we mean by trends? Trends is like a chart that shows fluctuation of something over time. Do you understand? I want to use, for instance, the price of Bitcoin. There was a time the price of Bitcoin was $100, right? Sometime in 2020 something, 20, I can't remember, yeah, 2014 or so. But right now, like crazy, man, the price of Bitcoin is over 100 and something thousand dollar. Do you know we can use a chart to see the trend of how the price of Bitcoin had increased from 100 towards over 100,000 plus dollar. Do you understand? So that is where charts can be used to identify trends in a particular data. Okay. So let me also use another instance. Everybody uses fuel, right? In Nigeria, there was a time where fuel cost around 145 naira. Yeah, 145 naira. Everybody was just buying cars. Everybody were buying cars because, and everybody were moving on the road because what? The fuel is cheaper. And I learned then government was paying subsidy on the fuel. So you will always see the road filled up with cars, even if you don't even have anything doing. You just want to drive your car, move on the road. Do you understand? But right now, man, nobody tries that shit, bro. Nobody tries that shit because fuel costs right now 900 and something naira. So if you are not going out for any purpose, my friend, you remain in the house. So do you know we can use charts to visualize the trend in the previous years of price of fuel. Don't worry, we get to understand what the trend is all about. So the chart also helps to show changes in data over time. There's a special chart that shows that particular one. So for the sake of this course, I'll be going in depth on what each chart can do and how you can use them. You don't just use any charts for any information generation purpose in Excel. You must know a particular chart that should fit that particular query or that particular question. Then you use it. All right. So let's look at the types of charts in Excel. There are lots of charts. We have column, we have bars, we have line charts, we have scatter diagram, we have they are just we have pie charts. There are just many, but based on the information you want to generate from your data set, you will know the exact kind of data, the exact kind of chart you will use. So first of all, we are starting with a column chart. A column chart. I remember back then when we were in school, or back then when we were analyzing data, what happens? We usually confuse the column chart to be bar charts. We never knew that there was something like a column. So in this video, understand the fact that there's a difference between a column chart and also a bar chart. Okay, they are not the same. Okay, don't go and use a column for your analysis of data or for the visual representation of your data, then you are now referring it to as a bar chart. It shows high level of not being updated in the chart. But this video is to tell you more about the disparity and the difference between them, and give you more of information. So the column chart looks like vertical bars. What do you mean by vertical bars? The vertical bars are the standing bars. Yes, they are the standing bars. So you can see right here on my screen, and I will tell you why this particular uh, data was presented in this column chart. So let's look at what the column chart is used for. The column chart is used to show values across different categories. So there are different categories right here. So it represents the values. Each of these categories has their own values. Okay. So that thing that was just comprising of what only numbers and the categories, we now have it to be what a picture and the category, and we can now visualize all those numbers into what a chart. Okay, so let's look at example of cases or scenarios where column charts can be used. When you want to show the number of students in different classes, like each year, you want to represent a population of students in different year in the university. You could say year one there are 500 students, year two there are 800 students, year three there are 300 students, year four. So you can use actually represent such information using a column. Is that clear? So for this particular column on my screen, where was this data generated? Let me check this very well. Okay, this is the data from salesperson. There was a supermarket that generated this particular data set, and that supermarket has different branches of in different states. Okay, and they have a sales head assigned for each of those branches, right? They have a sales head assigned for each of those. So the first person was Abesin Kati. Abesin Kati, this was the sale he generated from his own supermarket. The next person was what? What's this? Alison Caro. Alison Caro is the next person right here. And also Aziz Alman Zoe is another person right here. They are all salespeople. And we're representing, let me say, the boss of this particular supermarket wants to find out what's the performance of his sales personnel. Okay, it can actually represent that in a chart, collects information from each salesperson to know how much they were able to generate. Once he gets the information, what happens? You can present it in a column like this. Such information makes more sense in a column. So I wouldn't go to present such kind of information on a pie chart. It doesn't make sense. So it's always important to know each of these charts and know where you can use it. So the manager, the overall director of the supermarket, did was collected the data to see the performance of the salesperson in terms of sales. So these are names of salesperson that he had in different states, in different country. And you can see on this other side, which is the y-axis. I always call this side the y-axis or the horizontal axis, and this side is the x-axis, or the y-axis or the vertical axis, and this side is the x-axis or the horizontal axis. Please take note very well. The horizontal side, the side that moves from one end to the other end, okay, left to right, is the horizontal axis, and it's also referred to as x-axis. And the side that moves from up to down is the vertical axis. So the charts always are in vertical. That is, they are running from bottom to top, top to bottom. Do you understand me? So the manager or the director of this particular supermarket can now find out, say, who is the best salesperson. And for you to understand who is the best salesperson, is it not the person with the highest column? It's the person that has the highest column that you know that this person sold more. And if you check for a particular year, the sales value for that particular person for a particular year, then you check again for another year, then you check again for another year, you can compare the values. You can see where chart is very important. You can compare the values, okay, and see, since this guy is always making sales, I think he's a good salesperson. So from that, you can generate what? Information from it. All right. I don't want this video to be too long. So I'll use in 3 minutes time to summarize what a bar chart is, and then we will head on to the practical aspects, whereby we'll be working with a real life data set to represent the information in columns and also chart. So the next thing we have here is a bar chart. This is what a bar chart looks like. A bar chart is actually running from left to right. Note the difference between a column and a bar chart. The column is running from top to bottom, bottom to top, but the bar chart is running from left to right, just like your phone battery bars. Okay, when the bars of your phone battery is getting reduced, it's getting lower, what happens? It's running to the left side, right? It's going down, going down, going down, and it's now informing that battery is weak. So that is how a bar chart is being represented. They are represented in form of bars. So do not confuse bar chart for column. So what does the bar chart looks like? It looks like a horizontal bar like this. You can see it right here, like this. So let's look. What is it being used for? It's used. It's almost the same like a column, but it is better when the category names are long. Okay, if you have long category names, okay, if you compare this one, they are just short category names. These are the category names. But if you have category names that are long, you can represent them in bars. Okay, but if I had lengthy category names here, there's no way it can fit into Excel, and it will not really make sense unless I create another variable and shorten the name of that variable that represents this category. Okay, so if you have categories that are too lengthy, you can make use of bars to represent them. So when you are comparing sales of different products like soap, cream, and stuff, you can make use of bar charts. When you're comparing sales, when it's time to compare, you can also make use of what? Bar charts. So like I said, I won't be making this video to be beyond 20 minutes. I want to head up straight to a real life data set. Now I'll be providing the link to this data set, which you can download in the description section. Just head on to the description section and download it. Then we'll use it to represent data in column, and we also use it to represent data in chart. All right, see you there. Now we back to the practical session, the practical aspect, whereby we learn how to use columns in Excel to present data in charts. Okay, first thing you have to do, but before I go on to that most important thing, I want to tell you about this data set. I usually advise my students to ensure that they understand the data set before they work on it. Now, these are salesperson we talked about, and these are their sales generated. All these salesperson represent salesperson for one particular company, but this company have different salesperson in different regions in the country. So at the end of the day, the overall manager, like somebody like Dangote, who produces salt, noodles, and stuff like that, he makes use of this a lot. He has different salesperson in different regions of the country. Okay, so at the end of the day, he collates everything like this in form of a spreadsheet, and the data analyst gives him interpretation of how the sales look like. So it's somewhat the same thing. So what we want to do here is to represent January sales, February sales, March sales, and we can also represent the total sales to see who is the best performing salesperson. Right? Because to see who is the best performing salesperson. So in this particular video, I want to show you how you can do that with a column chart. First thing you want to do is to do what? Click the header where you want to start your chart from. Okay, where you want to start your chart from. Chart consists of two major important things. We have categories and values. In this our case here, this is the category and these are the values. So the category are being presented against what? The values. All right, good. So next thing we'll have to look at is to highlight. So do what? To highlight. When you want to highlight, please do not use this small rectangle here. Can you see this small rectangle in this place? Don't use it to highlight like this, because if you do that, it makes everything you're trying to say Excel duplicate whatever is in the first header down. All right, so if you do that, that's not correct. So take that back by pressing Ctrl Z. So these are the salesperson back again. So we want to highlight the place we want to present in column. We want to highlight the categories, and we also want to highlight what? The values. So we'll be presenting January sales. In this video, I'll be showing you how to do January sales, February sales. Then at the end of the video, we'll be doing for total sales. Okay, we do for total sales to see the best performing sales person. So if you want to highlight, just click in the middle of this highlighted cell in the header. When you click on it, you drag it down. As you're dragging it down, drag it down, hold Control. So this is where you want to stop. Make sure you're holding your Control key on the keyboard. So when you're done, you want to present this category, which is salesperson against January sales. So if I need January sales, I could just click on it. Do you understand? Just by clicking on it. The reason why I'm showing you for January sales is that there are sometimes I will give you an assignment and say present the salesperson against May sales. So against May sales, now if you let's assume it was like this, and this is April, this is May. Let me shift my camera to this side. This is April, this is May. So you just go to May and click on it. Do you understand? So at the end of the day, you are highlighting this and highlighting this, and you don't need January, February, March. You don't need them, right? So we only need salesperson for salesperson presented against May sales. So there will come a point in time where you definitely need something like that to do. Okay, so make sure that the moment you highlight, you click inside of the rectangle of the cell that is being highlighted, drag it. If you're doing for January sales, you can also drag it to this other side. Okay, the reason why I'm doing it this way is that if I'm doing for January sales, but if I don't need January sales, I will hold Control button on the keyboard and press what? And press the top of the column. If I want to do for February sales, I click on it. So I've highlighted this against February sales. Now let's go ahead to present them in the chart. I want to do for January sales. So if I want to do for January sales, this which I've highlighted, I can still highlight it again and drag it to this side. So we are now going to present salesperson against what? January sales. This thing I just clicked inside the rectangle, drag it downwards and drag it leftwards or rightwards. So now this is the data that we've highlighted. We want to present it in a column. What we'll have to do next is to click on insert, go to insert, then click on, this is where you find the column. So the moment you click on the column, you find different types of column. Okay, the different types of column is what you're going to find here, and we just need a 2D column. What do I mean by a 2D column? 2D represents two-dimensional column. That is dimension in the sense that it's going to have a y and an x-axis. Remember I told you about y and x-axis in the first video. Okay, so that's what is referred to as two-dimensional column. So what we want to do is a two-dimensional column chart, which is also called a cluster column. So you click on it. The moment you click on it, you can see all the data being represented here is what is highlighted here. So the column is now visible for what? Sites. Let me drag it. You can use these buttons, these arrows on the edges to extend it, to make it bigger in case you want to make a presentation about it. Now you can see in January, the title of the chart will be here, which is January. Okay, you can also edit if you want to. So we can see that in January sales, the person that generated the highest sales is Alex and Caro. You can see it right here, and the person's sales is above $18,000. Okay, and the second to the next person is Florence Tia. So this is how column helps us to visualize data, that we don't need to start looking at the figures right here. We will just look at the charts and understand it better. Now let us confirm this. I want to confirm this with the figures. Alex and Caro had the highest sale, which was above $18,000. Let's go back to the table. This is Alex and Caro. You can see it, $18,930. Then scan through all the remaining digits, all the remaining numbers. You can see no number is closer to that one. So this is where chart makes more sense, guys. I hope you all understand it. Now I want to show you how you can change columns. So instead of doing for January sales, you can do for February, March and April. So if you want to do that, just take your mouse to this particular place. You see a filter, so click on it. The moment you click on it, the moment you click on it, you will see the what do they call it, the month available right here. So you come to this particular box here that says edit series. When you click on it, you're going to see the rows, the range is covering. Now we want to edit it. We want to see for February sales. Remember, February sales is in column C. So anything that we have here on this dialog box, we have to change it to C. Anything you see as B, change it to C. So we take this back and change it to C, capital C. Doesn't really matter the case. Then we do this one, also change it to C, capital C. We change this B to what? C, capital C. The moment you call it, you see it's already on February here, right here. So if you click on it, if you click on OK, sorry, there's a problem somewhere because I'm doing soon. Let me start afresh for that particular one again. You click on the filter icon. We go to this other side where we want to change this. Instead of showing January sales, we want it to show February sales. So we click on this as well. So instead of having sheet 1 $ BS1 to cover that range, we say C. So instead of having B here, we say C. Instead of having B here, we also say what? C. So the moment you go back to click again, it automatically gets value for C. Okay, and you click on OK. When you click on OK, watch what has happened right now. It's no longer highlighting the column for B, which is January sales. It's now highlighting the column for what? C. So this is salesperson against what? Against February sales. Salesperson against what? February sales. Now we can now look at who was the least salesperson, who generated the least sales among them. You can see the person who generated the least sales is Count Elizabeth. So that's the least sales, which is something way too low. So let's check it count. So let's check here. Count Elizabeth generating $521 as sales, which is way too significant from all other sales. So it seems from here that the February sales was actually a good sales, and you can recommend all other salesperson, but the highest of the highest, the two highest person is Coleman Harry and Ford Victor. Those are the two highest persons. So you can get back here to confirm it. Ford Victor, seems they almost have the same value. Ford Victor is what, 4,000. Coleman Harry is what? Where's the Coleman Harry? Is that Coleman Harry? Okay. Let me check that name again. What's that name again? Coleman Harry. So this is Coleman Harry, $4,906. So they are somewhat kind of the same height. They are kind of the same sales generated because they have the same columns. Okay, so this is the difference between the columns. So you watching this video, I'd like you to do for April and May. Present your results in the comment section of this YouTube. Upload it there, or join the WhatsApp group and upload it right there. So what I want to show you is I want to see the overall best salesperson. Yes, the overall best salesperson. So let me delete this chart from here. How am I going to see the overall the best salesperson? It's when I sum up the sales for January, February, March, April, May. That's when I'm going to see who's actually good in sales. So let's say overall, and then we're going to use a sum function, and let's look for the range sum B2 to G2 is equals to sum B2 to G2 and close the brackets, then hit the enter button. So this is it. Let's drag down. Great. So these are the total sales generated by all of them. So we want to plot the categories of salesperson against the total sales. So what I will do, click on the header for the first category, drag it down, press your control key on the keyboard, scroll down to where you have the overall sales and click on the top of the column. All right, so when you do that, remove your hand immediately, go to insert. This is insert. Go to where we have insert column or chart. Then what we want to insert is a two-dimensional column. So we click on it. So the moment you click on it, this is where you're going to see the overall best person. So if you were judging sales by month, you find out that when someone did not do well in a particular month, that person also can do well in other months. Do you understand? So the overall best salesperson, we have Florence Tia. If I'm starting from here, we also have Coleman Harry. No, we also have Alison Caro. Alison Caro is the overall because it's closer to $60,000. Okay, so I can, as a manager of this particular company, I can decide to reward or appreciate Alison Caro for being a very good sales person. All right, so this is how you can represent information in charts. So next thing I would like to consider representing the information in bars. In bars, they are somewhat the same thing, but the difference is that, let me delete this off. The difference is that where you come here to select, I won't be selecting column again, I'll be selecting what? Bars, a two-dimensional bars. Okay, so the moment you click on it, this is how it's going to appear. Okay, this is how it's going to appear. That's just the difference between them. Now you can see these digits are clustered everywhere together. Drag them to the right, make sure they have enough of spacing. Drag them, make sure they have enough of spacing, so you can see how it is right now. So this is what we call a bar chart, whereas the first one I showed you is called what? A column. All right guys, thanks for watching up to this point. I'd like you to subscribe to the channel, If you aren't here to like the video as well to get to wider audience. And if you have any questions, you can drop it down in the comment section. I'll be there to pick it up and answer it for you. Catch you all in the next video. Peace. So let's check here. Count Elizabeth generating $521 as sales, which is way too significant from all other sales. So it seems from here that the February sales was actually a good sales, and you can recommend all other salesperson, but the highest of the highest, the two highest person is Coleman Harry and Ford Victor. Those are the two highest persons. So you can get back here to confirm it. Ford Victor seems they almost have the same value. Ford Victor is what, 4,000. Coleman Harry is what? Where's the Coleman Harry? Is that Coleman Harry? Okay. Let me check that name again. What's that name again? Coleman Harry. So this is Coleman Harry, $4,906. So they are somewhat kind of the same height. They are kind of the same sales generated because they have the same columns. Okay, so this is the difference between the columns. So you watching this video, I'd like you to do for April and May. Present your results in the comment section of this YouTube. Upload it there, or join the WhatsApp group and upload it right there. So what I want to show you is I want to see the overall best salesperson. Yes, the overall best salesperson. So let me delete this chart from here. How am I going to see the overall the best salesperson? It's when I sum up the sales for January, February, March, April, May. That's when I'm going to see who's actually good in sales. So let's say overall, and then we're going to use the sum function, and let's look for the range sum B2 to G2 is equals to sum B2 to G2 and close the brackets, then hit the enter button. So this is it. Let's drag down. Great. So these are the total sales generated by all of them. So we want to plot the categories of salesperson against the total sales. So what I will do, click on the header for the first category, drag it down, press your control key on the keyboard, scroll down to where you have the overall sales and click on the top of the column. Alright, so when you do that, remove your hand immediately, go to insert. This is insert. Go to where you have insert column or chart. Then what we want to insert is a two-dimensional column. So you click on it. So the moment you click on it, this is where you're going to see the overall best person. So if you were judging sales by month, you find that when someone did not do well in a particular month, that person also can do well in other months. Do you understand? So the overall best salesperson, we have Florence Tia. If I'm starting from here, we also have Coleman Harry. No, we also have Alison Caro. Alison Caro is the overall because it's closer to $60,000. Okay, so I can, as a manager of this particular company, I can decide to reward or appreciate Alison Caro for being a very good sales person. All right. So this is how you can represent information in charts. So next thing I would like to consider, representing the information in bars. In bars, they are somewhat the same thing, but the difference is that, let me delete this off. The difference is that where you come here to select, I won't be selecting column again, I'll be selecting what? Bars, a two-dimensional bars. Okay, so the moment you click on it, this is how it's going to appear. Okay, this is how it's going to appear. So that's just the difference between them. Now you can see these digits are clustered everywhere together. Drag them to the right, make sure they have enough of spacing. drag them, make sure they have enough of spacing, so you can see how it is right now. So this is what we call a bar chart, whereas the first one I showed you is called what? A column. All right guys, thanks for watching up to this point. I'd like you to subscribe to the channel if you aren't here, to like the video as well to get to wider audience. And if you have any questions, you can drop it down in the comment section. I'll be there to pick it up and answer it for you. Catch you all in the next video. Peace.